Can you please tell us your name and something about your family?
My name is Ilir Bytyqi. I'm 46 years old. I'm an executive chef in a country club. My family are Albanians, immigrants from Kosovo. They immigrated to U.S. in early 70s. So you might want to...
From where?
From Kosovo, from prison, from town prison.
Why did they come to the U.S.?
Well, they came, first of all, they came to U.S. for a better life, you know, and flee the atrocities that's been happening in Kosovo. Because during the war, 1999 war, it wasn't just that. The Serbs were always harassing, killing, mistreating Albanians, you know, since the earliest 1912. So they came to America for a better life, for a better future.
Did they have already children?
Yes, they did have my older brother Enver and my sister Bukuria. They were at the time, my brother was at the time I believe 2 years old. My sister was about a year and a half, I think. But I'm not 100% sure at the time. They immigrated in 1970, I'm sorry. So, you know, they came in to a better, you know, they're young. And then my dad worked as a mechanic, diplomatic engineer. He was a very successful diplomatic engineer. And in 71, they had my sister. And then they were here in Aurora, Illinois, actually in Illinois, state of Illinois. When they immigrated from, actually they were in Italy, in Trieste at the time when they immigrated to US. And in 73 I was born, and after that, 2 years later, we had my brother, one of my brothers, Uli, with my God rest his soul in peace, and was born in 74, 76, Agron was born. 2 years later, Mehmet was born in 78. Then Fatus, my younger brother, was born in 1979. We grew up in the U.S. Most of our lives. We were about 6 or 7 years old when we went to live in Kosovo. And we lived in Kosovo about 14 years, and then we came back to the U.S. in the early 90s. I believe it was 1993 when we came back. And I worked as a chef, started as a cook in the kitchen. Uli, my brother, was a pizza man. My brother, Mehmet and Agron, they were construction workers. Yeah, they were doing very well at the time. And during the 90s, we started hearing all the, before we immigrated to US, we came back to the US, not immigrated. There were a lot happening, demonstrations, mistreatment of Albanian people in Kosovo. Really, it was really bad, really bad, really bad. People were taken in the middle of the night. Some neighbors of ours, Serbs come and take them, and they just disappeared. Nobody knows their whereabouts. Until this day, some of them families don't know their whereabouts. And as I said, there were demonstrations. We participated in demonstrations at the time in Kosovo. And then it was time for us to flee because our lives were in danger because we were Americans. And during the I think it was 92 or 93, we left Kosovo. We came to New York, to Chicago actually, where we met our dad. And then we came all together to New York. We've been living in New York ever since. And then come the 1990s, 98, 99, we started seeing what was happening, really happening. The mistreatment of Albanians in Kosovo was brewing very badly, and people fleeing left and right. Some to Albania and Macedonia, even to America, they were immigrating. So we start seeing on TVs people being killed in villages. You know, these were friends of ours. Some of them were friends of ours, and the mistreatment, the rapes, and one day we decided, the American Albanian community actually, the Vendindia threat. They formed the Kosovo Liberation Army here, the Atlantic Brigade. And we saw it, and then we got together with my brothers and myself and my dad. We sat down and we spoke. You know, we couldn't stand it anymore because at the time we had our mom, my brother Fatus, and my sister. They were in Kosovo during the war. And we sat down with our dad and we said, listen, we got to do something about this because we can't stand, you know, we don't know. At the time we didn't know what was going on with them. We didn't know if they were alive, dead.
May I ask you what did you went back to Kosovo, your family went back to Kosovo twice, right? They went back in 78?
79.
79, and then your mother and some of your siblings were again in Kosovo in 99?
Yes, they were in Kosovo in 99.
They were living there or they were visiting?
No, they were living there.
They were living?
Yeah, living.
What, may I ask you if...
Well, my mom had family members, you know, she didn't have anybody here in the US. She was all alone with us kids and her husband, my dad. And they decided, she's like, we want to go and visit family, you know what I mean? She went and visit family, you know what I mean? And, you know, at the time, her mother, sisters, you know, as I said, there was nobody. She was an Albanian immigrant, you know, in the US, which she loves US today. She's proud American. And she decided to stay there, you know, with her family, you know what I mean? Close to her family. She was here about 10 years, actually, before she went back to Kosovo, to live in Kosovo.
Do you have any memory of growing up, you know, you grew up here, you lived here as a young man or child, yeah. And then also in Kosovo.
Yes.
What was it, how was it for you?
Well, life was good, you know, like, believe it or not, as any middle-class families, you know, it wasn't easy, you know, but it was hard. I started working when I was 8, 9 years old, you know what I mean? You know, like a shopping boy, you know what I mean? I'd go knock on my neighbor's door, you know, see, you need milk, you need bread, you know what I mean? As a young kid, you know, trying to make a buck, you know? And, you know, same thing with my brothers. And then, it was good. People were close before, you know, before the war. You know, the Albanians are very hostable people. You know, they host very good, you know what I mean? Every night you have to go somewhere, you know, over somebody's house, you know, and I mean, it was very, very, very exciting, you know. We finished school there, we were there, you know. It was pretty good. Life was good, you know. You know, we weren't rich or anything, we were middle class, you know, between middle class and poor, you know what I mean? But, you know, knowing 7 siblings, you know, it wasn't easy, you know, but it was good.
What did you like best, the U.S. or Kosovo?
I am born American, so definitely my blood runs in Albanian, but I'm definitely an American born.
And was it the same for your brother, Agran, Ilir, and Mehmet?
Yes, definitely. Actually, that proves it when the call came when the American Albanian community gathered up here in U.S. and that proves it that they were the first one we were all first to jump in and go, you know what I mean? Going back to that, in 1999, when the massacres and rapes and killings, when it was happening in Kosovo, we saw it all over TV and on the news, and you know, reports were coming in, and it was just like unbelievable. But we were like, you know what I mean, sat down and talked to my dad, and we said we got to do something about it, and we wanted all to join in, you know. But we decided, we were talking with my dad, and it was like somebody has to stay behind. And not even my dad. For my dad, we left our dad on side, you know, he wanted to go to fight too. And from the brothers, we were like, no, I'm going, you go, you know, he's like, no, I'm going, you know, you stay, you know what I mean? We started, and then all of a sudden we put it to the short. And I drew twice the short stick. Yeah. Once I drew the short stick twice, we weren't waiting for the third time. Everybody's like, that's it, it's all settled. You stick it, stay. I was like, no, you guys, you know, one of you have to stay. I'm the oldest one. You know, like, no, they won't take no for an answer. So they gathered up, got everything there, went and registered, you know, for the thing, to go over to fight. and they fought. You know what I mean? They were, they weren't afraid. They were proud to go and do this. Call of humanitarian aid. To the humanitarian aid. And that's what were they doing, aiding, doing a humanitarian aid to people when they were caught, getting killed, got killed, transferred to tortured and killed.
Do you remember when the day they left?
Yes, I do. It was a very emotional day, very emotional day. I told them, I expect you guys to come back, be safe, and unfortunately, they came back, but not alive.
Yeah. And when they left, how did you stay in touch with them?
Through phone calls, through Tirana. They went to Albania. They'd call me every for a couple of days after they were, had a break. You know what I mean? And at the time, one day I get a phone call and they tell me that my mom, from my brother, telling me that they met up with my brothers and that the family is safe there in Albania. My mom, Fatos, and my sister are in Albania, and that was a relief. I was like, oh, good, great. You know what I mean? Because believe it or not, for the last time I saw my mom, sister, and Fatos, it was in '98. I think it was March '98. And then from that, we didn't know what was going on. The phone lines were cut off and nothing. So it was a relief that my parents, my mom, sister, and brother Fatos were okay, safe in Albania. But afterwards, the war ended. My parents returned to Kosovo. My mom returned to Kosovo with my brother and sister, and my brothers went in with the Kosovo Liberation Army in Kosovo, and and after the signing of treaty, the Kumanova Treaty, the Detroit agreement. My brothers decided to stay for the rebuilding of Kosovo. You know what I mean? After they met up with my mom and my brothers, with my family in Albania, they they had to go back into the war. But my parents then, after the war was over, my mom, my family went back to Kosovo. So did my brothers. After the war was ended, and the Kumanova Treaty was signed, and my brothers decided to stay in Kosovo, to help with the rebuilding of Kosovo. And during the war, the Roman family that we assisted my parents, my mom, my family, took care of my parents. You know what I mean? Made sure that they need whatever they need, because Albanians couldn't go out much. You know what I mean? During the night during the day they had to cover their windows with blankets, so this way you don't see what's going on or however And the Roman family was one of the families that helped my parents. You know what I mean? Go shopping, did anything that they needed to do. Also, if you went to the bakery, you waited online for 3-4 hours for a loaf of bread. But the Roman family, went and they got in and out, no problem. And after the war was over, before that, my brothers were televised when they arrived in Albania, and that they were part of the Kosovo Liberation Army. And when a day later, Serbs found out that my brothers. What happened with Serbs is Serbian forces, once they found out that a member of a Kosovo Liberation Army family, they know the UN person that's in the Kosovo Liberation Army, and they know their families. The next day or probably that night, they'd go and execute the whole family as kind of revenge towards Albanians in Kosovo. So my brother were seen on TV by my neighbors, by my aunts, uncles, and everybody were just like, listen, we've seen them on TV. My mom tried to deny it, because she knew if they find out that who it is, they are, they'd be executed. But the next day, one of the neighbors overheard the police officer talking about my parents' apartment, telling them this is the apartment of the guys, were on TV, the Kosovo Liberation Army guys. This is the apartment. And then the neighbor goes and tells my mom, listen, you have to leave. It was about 10 o'clock in the morning, tells my mom, you have to leave. And my mom's like, why? Because these guys are gonna come. They know who you are, whose parents are you, so they will probably come in and execute. So what happened that day, my mom had the room with another neighbor, because we were the same last name. The same guy, the neighbor that came, has the same last name, the Bytyqi last name. And he came and then told my mom, please take my family too, so this way there's no misunderstanding between the families. So what happens is us, the family, the other Bytyqi family, and the Romans escorted us to the bus station. We went into the bus station, took the bus, and headed down to the Albanian border. So my parents, thanks God, without no incident, they passed through. But there was. I've heard that there were reports that the belongings of people, they were before they leave in Albania, their IDs were being taken. They've been robbed blindly. If they caught a young woman, or they'd rape her, you know what I mean. And then one report, it was Drini. There's a river called Drini. And one of the guys reported that there was a young girl floating on it, all bloody up. I guess they must have raped her and just threw her in there and killed her. It was just, so after the war ended, the Roman family needed help being protected from, because believe it or not, listen, if you were Roman, you were known that you worked with Serbs, and which most of them did. They worked with Serbs and all that. But there were good families that helped and kept it to themselves. You know what I mean? And these are one of the guys that helped my family flee. So when the war was over, they asked my brothers if they do a kindness to just escort them towards the border, and then they'll just leave. But I guess when they escorted, my brothers escorted these Roman family, at the time there were no border visuals. Nobody knew where the border begins, where the border ends, and it was just when they were caught, from the reports that we know, it was about 8 kilometers into Serbia. So they were pulled over by Serbian forces and kidnapped. They were prosecuted for 15 days illegally entering Yugoslavia at the time, but they were released in 11 days on good behavior.
Did you know that was happening to them when you were here, right?
Yes, we were here. We didn't know at first. We didn't know what was going on. When after they were arrested and taken to prison, the Roman family assisted. He called us and told us that this is what's happening. This is what's going on, and they were being arrested. They're in prison, but we'll keep an eye on it and make sure that they'll be released. Once they get released, we'll make sure that they'll send them back, and we'll make sure that they're coming to Kosovo, so this way you guys can meet up. But unfortunately, they were released in 11 days in good behavior, and one of the Roman family went to the prison and waited for them. He waited for a long time, and then finally he goes and says, listen, you guys told me that they're being released today. Where are they? He's like, oh, don't worry about it. We already released them. They are already being taken to the border and sent, He's like, well, you should have said something. I came in the morning and you guys told me that they'll be being released soon. And he's like, no, don't worry about it. We took care of that for all of it. So you don't have to go for your safety. And whatchamacallit, the guys called and said, listen, they've been released. Did you guys meet up with them? And, my family, my brothers, like, no, we don't. But instead of taking my brothers back to Kosovo, where they came in, international laws, wherever you took them, that's what you gotta have to return them. They took them the other end of it was Serbia, to Petrovac, near border with Hungary, where was the training camp, and they were brutally tortured. They were brutally tortured and then executed. and they were dumped in a mass grave where they were contained about another 70 Albanian remains.
How did you find out what happened to them? Where were you? Were you already in Kosovo, or were you
No,
still?
I was here in U.S. Fatos was in Kosovo at the time, running the investigation, but of course with the U.S. Authorities, and with the U.S. Embassy, unfortunately. Well, for 2 years we didn't know where they were at. We thought they were in prison. We had numerous meetings. They said, no, nothing to worry about with Serbian officials. They said, I had a few meetings with the Serbian officials between 2000 and between 1999 and 2000. And they said, there's nothing to worry about. They're probably in prison, nothing to stress out. They'll be released. Believe me, being in Calais, they're fine, nothing to worry about. And then at the time, the Minister of Interior, Sretan Lukic, he was there at the time, in 2001, when the bodies were discovered in the mass grave in Petrosello. He was the one that said there are 3 Americans. They identified them by the court's paperwork that they were my brothers. They were in the pocket after they were sent out to be executed. They had them as identification purposes. And Sretan Lukic said it himself at the time. They were killed because they were Americans. The reason why they were killed was during the bombing of the 1999 NATO bombing. America bombed Serbia. It was kind of revenge, a terrorist act. So.
And how was, when they didn't come back, when they were not released from jail, you got the news
Yes.
here and in Kosovo. I mean, we do know what happened to your family. You were devastated. How did that work? Did you stop working? Did you keep working? You started investigating.
We were, as I said, we were trying to investigate the whole thing, and we were working here. Fatos was at the time in Europe doing things, and then we were going back and forth, and then we made almost over, for the past 20 years, probably I could say good 50, 60, 70 trips to Serbia alone. And we're trying to find out what happened. And the investigation from our point of view, which is, it's been done. And it's proven that people who are responsible for killing my brothers. But Serbia chooses not to prosecute them, because they're in the first of all, the investigation is all done, as I said.
Who did it?
Now, the prosecutors, the FBI, and every branch of the Serbian government. It's been concrete that the case is done. They know who the perpetrators is. And at the time, Prime Minister Vučić came and told us, to my brother, the U.S. officials, that he said it to in front of my attorneys, everybody. There was about 10 of us in the room. Told us that 2 people were responsible for it. One of them he named Goran Radosavljević, and the other one I can't say anything yet, because we're not 100% sure if it's, but he named 2 people. One of them was Goran Radosavljević. He was the one, he told us straight out that he was the one who killed my brothers. So, he knew exactly for a prime minister to come out and say it, and then a couple of years later he said the family is threatening me and kicking me over the head that we are, we did. The proof is in pudding, who did it, how, when happened. And today is this day, the person, Goran Radosavljević, that is responsible for killing my brothers, he is in the president's political party. He's high up in the presidential political party. He's one of the board members of President Vučić, and he chooses not to give him up.